It's now time for me to share my personal lessons from the podcast. The first is that I'm very glad that we have not let perfection be the enemy of progress. When we started this, we were working with a good friend now who at the time was a consultant, Thomas K.R. Stovall. And we started this podcast after completing his Podcast in 10 program. But at the time, all the fancy stuff that you need to have like a top 1% podcast, we didn't have. And I wasn't in a position to spend $10,000 on podcast equipment to make it happen. We're going to talk about that equipment in just a second. But to me, that has been a valuable lesson for other areas of my life where it's like, just get it started, just hit record, just press play, just make that phone call, because you can make things perfect along the way. But if you're trying to start perfect, you may never start at all. And the next thing has to do with how rough some of those episodes were and sometimes are. And that has to do with consistency. When we started this, and I've told you, whenever I'm doing something that's a big undertaking, I always commit to a minimum amount of work that I'm going to do before I evaluate whether or not to continue. So before we started this, I committed to doing 100 episodes, which is basically 2 years. Not only before I looked back and said, how did this go? But before we even re-released an episode, I said, we're going to go 100 episodes straight. And then after that time, I'll look back and see whether it's worth it and whether I should keep doing it. And there have been times where I've had to record podcast episodes in a hotel lobby. There have been times when I've had to, at 1 a.m, be sitting there editing a podcast episode. So there's a ton of episodes in our catalog that if I look back at it, I'm like, oof, I really wish we hadn't released that at all. But I can tell you that people pay attention to things you do consistently, even if you're doing them poorly. The number of people who reach out to us on LinkedIn or make passing comments about the podcast, it has shocked me. And some of the episodes that they bring up are some of the episodes that I would have rather we not posted. But by posting every Friday, by posting on social media, people pay attention even when they think they're not paying attention. And if you think about it, if somebody showed up on LinkedIn or on social media or in your Instagram feed every day and posted the worst video in the world with the worst audio, but they did it literally every single day, you're going to at least notice that they're making a consistent effort. And there's something about that that makes people subconsciously or consciously pay attention to what you're doing. And that is something that has provided us tremendous benefits over time that I didn't expect. So hammering home the value of getting started, it's not just getting started. It's the fact that we got started and we committed to something and we continued and followed through on that commitment with consistency. And they've rewarded us for that consistency more so than they have paid attention to the specific details of each piece of content that we produce.